The gods that mortal beauty chase, still in a tree did end their race. Apollo hunted De- Daphne so, only that she might laurel grow, and banded after Cyrus speed, not as a not as a nymph, but for Arid.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. So we have run when we have run our passion's heat, our passion's course. In other words, when we get exhausted, when we get tired, when we get exhausted, when we get tired, we return to the garden for relaxation. We withdraw into the garden for relaxation. We go to the garden for relaxation. So when we have run our passion's heat, love hither makes his best what? Retreat. Okay. When we have run our passion's heat, love hither. Actually, love here, yani. Love here, love hither means here in the garden. Yani. Okay, hither means here in the garden. When we have run our passion's heat, when we have run our passion course, when we get tired of our or exhausted of our passions, we withdraw into the garden. We go to the garden for relaxation and for refreshment, right? We go for relaxation and for refreshment. The gods that mortal beauty chase still in a tree and the race. The gods that mortal beauty chase still in a tree did end their race. Okay. Now, by the way, this is reference to, as we have mentioned last time, this is reference to Greek mythology. This is reference to Greek mythology. The speaker here refers to the story of who? Of the gods Apollo and Pan, who were pursuing their lovers, اللي هم Daphne and Syrinx. And the speaker tells us that the gods that mortal beauty chased, they were chasing actually their mortal lovers. The god that mortal beauty chased still in a treated in the race, still in a treated in the race. And he goes on explaining how the gods, okay, did end their race in a tree. He says Apollo hunted Daphne. Apollo was pursuing Daphne. Why did he pursue Daphne? Actually, because he wanted to transform into what? Into the laurel tree. And keep in mind that the laurel tree actually is referenced. The laurel tree is the tree of Apollo. The laurel tree in Greek mythology is the tree of Apollo, who is the god of love. Who is the god of love? So the gods that mortal beauty chased still in a treated in their race. Okay, they were pursuing more mortal beauty, not because they were interested in that mortal beauty, but because they were interested in the beauty of nature. That is why Apollo transformed into a tree actually in the garden, and Pan did after Cyrenix speed, not as a nymph, but for what? For a reed. So Pan was not pursuing Cyrenix because he was interested into that nymph. Pan was not pursuing, okay, Cyrenix because he was interested actually, okay, into that nymph actually, okay, into that mortal beauty. But he wanted actually to transform, be what because but he wanted actually to transform. He wanted to become a reed, and this what has already happened. This what has already happened. Yes. Okay. Yes. Any questions with regard to this stanza? If there's anything that is not clear, still, as you can see, students, that the speaker contemplates the beauty of nature. Okay, the speaker contemplates the beauty of nature by using طبعا by referring okay to or by using unnatural okay unnatural images, actually unnatural images. Okay. Okay. Yes, any questions so far, students, if you have any questions? Okay. If you have no questions, let us move to the next stanza. النعمي, are you there يا نعمي?
Yes, yes.
Yes, يا نعمي.
What wondrous life in this I lead. Ripe apples drop about my head. The luscious crystals of the fame upon my mouth do crush their wine. The nectarine and curious beat into my hands themselves do reach, stumbling on melons as I pass. Inside with the flowers I fall on the grass.
Yes, thank you so much, يا نعمي. Thank you so much. Okay. So, what wondrous life is this I lead? What a wonderful time I have in the garden. What a beautiful time I have in the garden. Ripe apples drop upon ripe apples drop about my head. The delicious clusters of the vine upon my mouth do crush their wine. Okay. Now he's the speaker here in this stanza celebrates the abundance of what? The abundance of fruits in the garden. The speaker celebrates actually the abundance of what? Of fruits in the garden. So while walking actually in the garden, ripe apples drop about my head. So because there's a plenty actually of what? Of 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 fruits actually in the garden. So the apples drop upon the head of the speaker. The apples actually drop upon the head of the speaker. And the luscious clusters of the vine, the delicious yani, cluster of the vine, of grapes yani, upon my mouth do crush their wine. Okay, so it seems actually that the 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 grapes reach the mouth of the speaker without any effort, and they crush the juice into his mouth. They crush they crush the juice into his mouth. The grapes, the abundance of grapes, actually here talking about the abundance of grapes. Okay, do reach the mouth of the speaker without any effort from him, and they crush what? They crush the juice into his mouth. So the luscious clusters of the vine upon my mouth do crush the nectarine and curious peach into my hands themselves do reach. Again, after talking about the grapes crushing okay the juice into his mouth, he talks about the nectarine and the peach. He talks about other kinds of fruit actually reaching his head without what? Without any effort. So instead of what? Trying to reach Instead of trying to reach the fruits in the garden, the fruits actually try to the the fruits fall down and try to reach what? Try to reach the mouth and hands of the speaker. Okay. Stumbling on melons as I pass. As the speaker طبعا walking in the garden, as he is walking in the garden, And because actually the melons grow in the melons grow in the garden in what? In such plenty actually. The melons grow in the garden in such plenty. He stumbles. You know the amigo stumbles, right? You know the meaning of stumbling. When you say stumbling, what is the meaning of stumbling?
تعثر يعني أو
Yes, getting obstructed, right? Getting obstructed, right?
yes.
So while walking in the garden, the speaker gets what? Gets obstructed. Okay, because of what? Because the melons grow because the melons actually grow in the garden in such what? In such plenty. So stumbling on melons as I pass. Ensnared, you see? Ensnared with the flowers, I fall on. Ensnared with the flowers, I fall on what? On the grass. So the speaker actually gets ensnared with the flowers, gets entangled. He gets entangled among the flowers. After getting entangled actually among the flowers, he what? He falls. He falls on the. He falls on the grass. He falls on the grass. Yes. Yes. Any questions, students? If you have any questions with regard to this stanza or any other stanza that we have already talked about. اوكي. Let us continue. هل في داعي ناخذ بريك الآن ولا نأجل شوي حتى ننهي القصيدة؟
عادي دكتور كمل.
اوكي.
انهي
Yes.
القصيدة
اوكي.
بعدين نطلع بريك.
تمام. Yes يا الزهراني. Could you please read for us the next stanza?
Okay. Meanwhile, the mind from pleasureless withdraws into its happiness. The mind, that ocean where each kind does right its own resemblance find. Yet, yet it creates transcending this for far other worlds and other seas, annihilating all that's made to a green thought in a green shade.
Okay. Remember when we talked about metaphysical poets attempting what? To transcend the physical world, right? They attempt to transcend the physical world to gain what? To gain vision. To gain vision. They believe that the spiritual world is far superior to the physical. The spiritual is far superior to the physical. So what we see actually here is what is something that seems to be or that is inferior to what we have in the metaphysical or in the transcendental world. Okay, what we see, what we experience in the physical world actually, what we experience in the physical world is inferior to what we can experience in the transcendental or in the spiritual or in the metaphysical world. Okay. The idea is clear here, right? So far, the idea is clear.
Yes.
Okay. So the speaker says, meanwhile, the mind, from pleasures less, withdraws into its happiness. While the speaker actually, while the speaker is on the grass, okay, after falling, طبعا, his mind does not seem to be interested in the inferior, into the inferior things in the physical world. While the speaker is on the grass after getting طبعا as we have just mentioned in the previous stanza, after getting entangled among the flowers, the speaker actually the mind of the speaker does not seem to be interested into the inferior things of that someone may experience into the physical world. So he says, meanwhile, the mind from pleasures less withdraws into its happiness. So the mind starts contemplating actually about other worlds. Okay, it tries contemplating, imagining. Okay, about what other words. Okay, so meanwhile the mind from pleasureless withdraws into its happiness. So the mind seeks what? A different kind of happiness that cannot be experienced in the physical world. Happiness that cannot be experienced in the physical world. Okay, it's happiness that can be experienced into different worlds. Okay, that is why the speaker tries to create or to imagine a different world, a world that does not exist in the material or physical world that we live actually in. Okay, so meanwhile the mind from pleasure from okay, meanwhile the mind from pleasureless withdraws into its happiness, the mind that ocean where each kind does immediately its own resemblance what find, its own resemblance find, yet it creates transcending, you see, yet it creates transcending these, transcending the physical world, right, transcending the physical world, right, for other worlds and other seas, annihilating, destroying, or not interested, yani, all that's made to a green thought in a green shade. Okay, what does that mean? The mind that ocean. So the mind is just like an ocean, right? The mind is just like an ocean. The mind that ocean where each kind does straight, does immediately its own resemblance what? Find. Okay. So it seems that the speaker tells us that everything that we have part in a different world. And by the way, keep in mind, it seems that Andrew Marvel, and I'm pretty something
صوتك
about Plato. I'm pretty sure that
صوت
that
راح.
Andrew Marvel read something, or maybe. Yes, يا الحبيب.
يقطع صوتك ترى.
قطع صوتك يا دكتور مسلم.
الآن صوت واضح؟
ايوه
واضح الآن.
الآن صوت. Okay, تمام. Listen, let me repeat what I have said. It seems that Andrew Marvel was influenced with the ideas of who? With the ideas of the Greek philosophy.
لسه يا دكتور يقطع.
الدكتور مو موجود، طلع ولا